I'm not the biggest trend follower these days, but I'm not going to pretend like I don't pay any attention to them. As a fashion-focused channel, I think it's only natural for me to talk about upcoming trends, and they're always great for finding new bits of inspiration. So with that being said, I stumbled upon this interesting GQ article talking about the 11 biggest trends this fall. And in today's video, I thought it would be interesting for me to look through them and share my thoughts with you. The first trend is what they're calling thick gauge hoodies. Not your regular cotton sweater type hoodies that we're all used to, but hoodies that are made with thick knit, woolly type materials. My immediate thought upon reading this trend is that it looks like it might be trying to do too many things at once. What I mean by this is, from the examples they're showing, they kind of look like a hybrid between a classic fisherman jumper or cardigan with a hood attached to them as a bit of an afterthought. I've got no doubt they're warm and cozy. Of course, anything thick gauge is going to be desirable in fall, and I think the Our Legacy one has probably done one of the best jobs of creating something that looks more unique and fashion forward. But mostly they remind me too much of something you might get from shops like Weird Fish or The White Stuff, and I'm not sure if I'm into that. I feel like I'd prefer to get an actual fisherman jumper or cardigan and then leave hoodies to just be normal hoodies. My mind might change if I actually had one in hand and got to try it on. But having just looked at them and read about them, I'm feeling a bit reserved about this trend. Next up, they're talking about the barn coat, which they say is a close cousin to the chore coat. I'm not too familiar with barn coats, to be honest, but I really like the examples they've listed. Specifically the barber one, which looks similar to something Kami wore in season 3 of The Bear, and he seems to be a bit of a trendsetter, so this doesn't surprise me. From what I can see, a barn coat is just a mid-length piece with large front pockets and a corduroy or contrasting colour collar. As they say, it does look fairly similar to the chore coat, and I actually picked up a classic French chore coat months ago and have been waiting for an opportunity to wear it. I feel like chore coats and probably barn coats have been a bit in the shadow of the Detroit style work jackets for a few years now, so I'm very happy to see something different this season. And they're a classic design which isn't going to go out of style anytime soon. So if you're looking for a new coat this winter, I think this might be a good choice. The third trend prediction from GQ this fall are Harrington Jackets. I'm fully behind this one. I feel like these haven't had enough love recently, to the point where I actually went out and bought a Barracuda Harrington jacket last year, and Barracuda are the OGs when it comes to Harrington jackets. Unfortunately, I got the sizing wrong and had to sell it on, so never got to wear it. The article highlights a great range of examples, from a weatherproof Buck Mason version to a luxury Tom Ford version. No matter which one you get, the main appeal of Harrington jackets to me is their short length and slimmer fit. And I do feel like Harrington jackets are one of those pieces that look at their best when they're worn slim. I avoided slimmer fitting clothes for a while because I never really felt comfortable in them. I've personally found that keeping fit and in shape has really helped boost my confidence with wearing clothes like this. But the hardest part about getting in shape is consistency and motivation. And if you feel the same way, then today's sponsor, Trainwell, can help. Trainwell is a personal training app that provides you with unique workout and fitness advice that is tailored specifically for you. For me, one of the biggest barriers going into fitness was understanding what I actually wanted to achieve. The Trainwell app navigates you through this and includes meaningful considerations like how hard you want to be pushed, and allows you to choose an expert trainer that you can identify with. This personal trainer will then plan absolutely everything for you and keep you accountable. This removes the stress of understanding what you need to do, when, and for how long. You can message them anytime to discuss your goals, how you're feeling about your latest workout, or any other fitness advice. You don't even need a gym. I personally like to work out at home, and Trainwell can accommodate and plan a routine for you without any equipment. The app shows you exactly how to do the exercises and shows heat maps of the muscles you're working to ensure you have proper form. If you want to try out Trainwell and see if it works for you, you can get a 14-day free trial with an expert trainer by following my link in the description box below. Thank you to Trainwell for sponsoring this video. The next trend apparently is suede, and this is a bit of an obvious one in my opinion, especially in fall where the colour and warmth of suede makes so much sense. They've given examples of both suede jackets and suede shoes. The Margiela replicas are particularly nice. I also really admire the suede Dana Mountain lights, and things like the RRL Rough Out suede jacket just blow my mind. Absolute grail level piece. I've made the mistake in the past of saying I tend to avoid suede because of my perception of it being high maintenance, mainly due to water stains. But I've been thoroughly corrected from people saying that with a simple waterproof spray, it sorts that problem out, and I've got no reason to disagree. I've always wanted a suede jacket, so maybe this is the year to get one. Alright, this next trend is definitely new to me, and it's crewneck cardigans. We all know the regular cardigan is a fall and winter staple, and it's here to stay. But the crewneck cardigan has buttons all the way up to the neck, and so when it's fully done up, it kind of looks like a crewneck sweater. I have really mixed feelings about this one. While they do show some really nice looking examples, like the Frism Works wool deck cardigan, my suspicion is that these might look better in photos than in person. My main worry, especially with the button-up versions, is that they'll only look decent when fully done up. Because of that crew neck construction, if it was worn undone, I don't think it would sit very nicely and might look a little bit awkward flapping about. Great thing about cardigans is to be able to wear them open and expose those layers below. If this is only going to look good when fully done up like a crew neck jumper, then why not just buy a crew neck jumper? Similar to those thick gauge hoodies we talked about earlier, this kind of feels like it's trying to be too many things. These are just my first impressions though. My opinion might change if I actually tried one on, so I'm keeping my mind open on this one. Number 6 is Argyle, which I guess would go hand in hand nicely with the cardigans we just talked about, such as this Our Legacy alpaca blend cardigan, which does look lovely. Without a doubt, the Argyle pattern is a classic design, and you could argue that it's timeless, but I think it's very situational. For example, in golfing or formal suiting, you can never go wrong with some Argyle pieces. My immediate feeling to how it will be applied to trending fashion is that it could come across as a bit of a fad. Not to offend anyone, but it does have that sort of fashionable because it's ugly vibe to it, similar to what we've seen with clogs over the past few years. But then to be fair, clogs really did take off and have remained popular in mainstream fashion for a good amount of time. Argyle definitely fits into the recent formal streetwear style that's starting to take over, and I've seen so many great outfits in that space. So yeah, Argyle could be one to watch. Next up is rollneck jumpers, not to be confused with turtleneck jumpers. It's a subtle difference but changes the look quite dramatically. Turtlenecks typically rise way above the neck and then you fold them down to your preferred height. Rollnecks are more mid-length, if that's the right term. They sit halfway up the neck and then the raw edge is rolled over and stitched in place, I believe, giving this sort of rim around the collar. These aren't anything new. J. Crew trademarked the rollneck name in the 80s, but rollnecks were probably around in some capacity way before then. J. Crew still make them today, and as you can see, many others do as well at all different price points. They're a nice in-between piece if you feel like turtlenecks are too stuffy, but crew necks are a bit too loose. I'd love to get my hands on an original 80s J. Crew rollneck, but I haven't seen one for sale yet. Number 8 is kind of a generic one from GQ, and it's long length coats. I don't really see how this is a trend. It makes sense that a lot of people will start wearing them as the weather gets colder and rainier. Because of its length, it protects more of your body from the adverse weather, especially overcoats and trench coats, which I think have been more popular than ever over the past few years. I actually just reviewed a fantastic one from Uniqlo, which I'm going to be wearing all fall and winter, so go check that out if you're interested. I guess the point GQ are trying to make is that shorter length jackets usually take the spotlight in fall and winter, but we shouldn't forget that there are plenty of longer length offerings as well. The next trend on this list are Oxford shirts, and as we've already talked about, with the rise of more formal looking streetwear, this makes total sense. Button-up shirts in general have been having a big moment over the past few years, primarily short-sleeved shirts with DIY crops to shorten the length and look more casual. But GQ are talking specifically about long-sleeve Oxford shirts, which will be worn in smart or formal outfits. I haven't really messed around with formal streetwear beyond my loafers, and I'm not sure if I actually will, but I really admire people who can pull off this style. The thing I always notice with Oxford shirts in particular is that they're super expensive to buy new, but most of them don't seem to hold their value. So you can often get a really great quality Oxford shirt from a charity shop or eBay for a fraction of the price. So that's where I'd be looking first if I wanted to try this trend out. At number 10, I think what they're saying is that small-faced watches are on the rise. The wording of the article is confusing me a bit. They're talking about watches as bracelets, highlighting metal watches in particular. Perhaps I'm missing something, but haven't watches with metal bracelets always been on trend? Maybe they just mean really flashy watch bracelets, and faces that are very small so that you can hardly tell that they're watches. Either way, this is definitely not something I feel qualified to talk about. I never wear a watch, even though I think they look fantastic on others. So please help me in the comments to understand if this trend makes sense to you and what you think about it. Last up, this one I do feel more qualified to talk about, and it's belts. In particular, the more flashy and decorated belts. And I think a lot of this has to do with the Western style having such a strong year. So we're seeing a lot of belts embellished with metal details. A great example they have in the article is the grommet belt from Vaquera, which I'm probably pronouncing incorrectly. Or if you want to go a little bit more low key, the Maximum Henry belt. Belts are just such an easy way to elevate a simple outfit. Of course, flashy belts have always existed, but I feel like they haven't had much love in the mainstream until very recently, and I hope to see more. So there's GQ's 11 biggest fall trends in menswear for 2024. Some of them were kind of generic and obvious, like long coats and suede. Some were more intriguing, like thick gauge hoodies and roll neck jumpers. And then some I wasn't so sure on, like Crewneck Cardigans and Argyle print. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you care about these trends? Are you going to be picking any of them up? But anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.